why don't you guys all introduce yourselves and what you do before we start asking questions?
I'm Emmanuel Lusinchi. I'm the Technical Design Director on Star Wars: Old Republic.
I'm James Ohlen. I'm the Game Director.
I'm Damion Schubert. I'm the lead system designer for the project.
Corey Butler, live producer.
I'm Cameron Winston. I'm a combat designer on the project.
And this is Stephen Reid, community manager. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, raise your hands. I will wander around with a microphone and make sure I get you. If anyone's standing in the aisles and wants to stay for the Q&A, come on in, stand on the black carpet, get off the aisle. Don't want to block anyone walking through. Want to make sure there's plenty of room, and there's lots of room here still. You guys can all come in if you want. You want to get closer? You don't have to. I'm just saying. You have a question?
So with the SOA fight in Eternity Vault, why did you guys choose to make the ball lightnings have a DOT effect? Because every freaking time our raid members are running into those things, they don't just like explode and do damage, they tick like a few times and do damage, and that's really annoying. Like, and it's just like, I wish you guys would have like a line or something from the ball lightnings to show like whose lightning it is, because it gets really confusing in the heat of the moment.
So obviously, the SOA fight is known to have a few issues that we're working very hard to address. A greater visibility in operation mechanics is something that we're constantly striving to achieve. Certain effects that are set up as a damage over time effect versus instant effect is part of the difficulty of an encounter, and the operations designers take that into account when they're making these kinds of decisions. So I guess the first answer to your question is it's damage over time effect because that was what the designer felt was the best solution for the challenge level of the encounter. And the second thing is, why is it hard to see where the ball lightnings are attacking? That's definitely something we'd like to improve visibility on, and we're definitely working to make some improvements to the SOA fight in the future. But yeah, it's something we'd always love to do is communicate our mechanics better to you guys.
So to your question exactly, we did rescript entirely the ball lightning mechanics, and not only have people be able to test it on test server, but we gave ourselves more times to take into account their bugs that they find on the test server and fix it before we push it out. So that's one of the reasons we are taking more time for the patch, but also we are relying as well on you guys testing transferring your characters and testing these operations to make sure they are as bug-free as possible.
Is there any intention to do group ship combat, like multiple people in one instance?
Someone said ship combat. James was like, what?
We are not talking about new ship combat features at this time. But we are exploring stuff. We have a whole team devoted to the space experience, so you are going to hear announcements in the future, this year.
Don't we also have a secret project that you'd like to talk about?
There's a secret project.
Questions?
With 1.2 KP, Nightmare is going to drop black hole accommodations. Is EV Nightmare also going to drop black hole?
That's a great question.
I don't think we have any of the item guys here, right?
We don't have the itemization team here, but I can tell you that the itemization 1.2 has pretty much undergone a thorough revamp in order to make the various difficulties map correctly to the rewards that you get for them. And they're going to continue to iterate on that and get better at that as we release these next patches as well.
What time should we expect the Nightmare mode of the new operation to come into the game?
We're aiming that for the next game update, which we can't announce the time of that at this moment, or Stephen Reid will really kill me.
Go ahead.
That's the week after.
That's a joke for those of you.
That's a joke. He likes me to say that.
Put it in brackets. It's a joke. That way
I already warned him. I also want to point out that even though Nightmare's not launching with 1.2 for the new operation, the hard mode is plenty hard. I don't know if we've had I think we might have had one guild clear it so far on 8-man hard, and we've had very few guilds clear it on story. So it is definitely a more significant challenge this time around.
Although a good point about the nightmare mode when it will come is that it won't be just a title and just a pat on the back saying it good. It will come with its own itemization, so there will be actually a real reason to run Nightmare, but expect a significant challenge for it.
Are you working on a fix for the interrogator boss for Directive 7?
Yes.
Anyone have questions?
So I got another one here. Out of all the classes, Sith Warrior is the most undertuned. I like the tank out of the 3 tanks between Power Tech and Assassin. No one wants to take those into an ops. And compared to the other like DPS classes, like a mercenary or a sniper, we don't want marauders in our ops. So are you guys doing anything to make the class less undertuned than it is now?
Well, I mean, the question to you would be, why do you think that they're undertuned right now?
They just have, in my opinion, they die more because they have less defensive capabilities, even though they have force camo, things like force camo. They just don't put enough DPS out. I mean, I swap a mercenary out for a Sith Warrior and we'll down something, whereas if I have a Sith Warrior in my ops and I don't have a mercenary, we're not going to kill something.
So that's a rather complicated question. First off, I don't necessarily agree that Sith Warrior is undertuned. We find that within roles, all of our classes are performing very close to each other as far as what our expectations are, and our expectations don't change. We don't change our expectations from patch to patch, which is something I've read in the forums. We're very committed to making sure that every class is desirable in all kinds of content, and it's my hope that with 1.2, when you guys get the combat log, you're going to see that some of these classes that have been traditionally viewed as underperforming on the boards and in the rumor mill are actually probably doing more DPS than people expect. And obviously, if that isn't the case, and we're starting to see some combat logs and parses coming in that don't really validate those assumptions, then we're always willing to go back and revisit these kinds of questions. But as of right now, based on all our internal testing, our sustained DPS tests, our burst DPS tests, our survivability tests, and the many hours that the class designers and myself have put into playing in one-on-ones, in group content, in operations, and in flashpoints, we're very comfortable and happy with where our classes are performing in relation to each other.
Can I ask you something? Your hand up. Well, first I want to say I think maybe you're playing with the wrong kind of marauder. I have a marauder in my guild, and he goes above and beyond the call, and he never dies unless he's being stupid about it. And as a Jedi Guardian tank, I find that, well, I rock and I never die because I have a great consular healer. But I think the big thing that I want to ask is that, you guys are doing a great job, and just keep up the good work with, fixing the bugs. SOA on Nightmare is just still ridiculous because we get to the second phase, the transition, and the floor is gone on some attempts. Other attempts, lightning balls are, tripling the damage. It's just too much. We can't get it. And hopefully you won't take out the Infernal title either, because I'm kind of sick of people saying, oh, you're just a noob. And I'm like, no, it's just buggy, and we have great DPS and great tanks.
Where was the question?
Well, will SOA be fixed for the most part in patch 1.2? Well, Emmanuel right here has been actually working on the Eternity Vault for several weeks in a row. It's been his major focus, and he can talk about that. And if it's not up to par, you can blame him.
Yeah, so a few points. Yes, you're right. It was buggy. It was buggy many patches in a row, and sometimes we fix something and the problem is still there. We have no report of bugs on the test server, which is great. And again, in the next patch, probably you'll be able yourself to go and test things for yourself to make sure. We've fixed a lot of issues, and we are trying to bring it down to 0 bugs, which is a goal. But don't take my word for it. Please try it again once 1.2 come out, which is very soon apparently. One thing I wanted to say that every time we see on the forums or other forums like clear indication of the problems with leaving the emotions out, but like a description of what happened, and if there's a video, usually we find the bug extremely rapidly, especially when there's a video. It's like we can literally see, oh look, that effect is on, but this one is not. Oh, I know what's the problem is. So the community has been key for us to find those issues, and they were actually really complex, and we fixed every single one we know about. There is no known bug that we still think is in 1.2, but you guys will tell us, and I won't put in the patch that's always fixed until there's no more reports whatsoever of bugs.
Alright, I play Vanguard tank, and I can't hold threat for some reason. I run out of ammo way too quickly, have to hit everything as much as I can. Ammo regen is just horrible, and I mean, people equal gear as me are instantly ripping off in just one trick, and it's really annoying. I mean, half the time they're taking the abuse and I'm waiting for taunt to come up, because the only way I get any aggro is by taunting.
So, is your question? What is your question?
Can you fix Vanguard threat?
So the question is, can we fix Vanguard threat? So I think what you're experiencing is a twofold problem, and the first is we have a lot of mechanics in our flashpoints and operations which have threat modifications which currently aren't being telegraphed very well to you guys, and we're trying to do a better job of letting you know when threats being manipulated so that you can kind of compensate for it. And the second thing with running out of ammo, in 1.2, the top of your energy shot at the top of the tanking tree is going to be off the global cooldown, and it's going to be another energy management tool for you. So not only is it going to be like a free shot that does damage, so you're going to get more threat out of it, it's also just going to give you energy or ammo back. So it's going to kind of both help you with your threat and with your energy management. So it's my hope that you'll be able to use that tool and the new combat log that you're getting in 1.2 to help analyze your rotation to see where maybe you're spending a little bit too much energy, that you could kind of move into other things to help increase your overall threat generation and better energy management.
In 1.2, the backstab cooldown was increased to 12 seconds from 9 seconds. That affects Acid Blade, which is the top tier talent in the concealment tree. And I was just wondering if they're going to buff Acid Blade damage to make up for that, because it seems like it basically makes that talent useless.
So, well, I disagree that it makes it useless. The concealment and the scrapper tree overall has been, restructured a little bit in 1.2. But for clarity, just would like to say, unilaterally, all of our tests, both sustained, burst, PvP, PvE tests for the concealment and scrapper trees, have shown that they are very, very, very close to all the other DPS specs that compete with them in the game. So we're very actually confident that the 1.2 scrapper and the 1.2 concealment operative and scoundrel respectively are going to be able to do competitive DPS. They're going to be desired for operations and for PvP groups. And again, I'm hoping that the new combat log, you'll be able to validate these claims yourself when 1.2 comes live. As to specifically, is there anything that comes into it? A lot of the changes in that tree with the cooldowns and the rotations, it was sort of like it's shuffled around, but ultimately we feel that the end result is going to be very comparable to what we had before. It's come down a little bit, but again, comparatively to other specs within the same role, we're very happy with where we ended for 1.2.
I really enjoyed the flashpoints like Black Talon and the Boundary things. Is that something that we could see in big patches, or is that something we'd have to wait till the next expansion to look for?
So you're specifically talking about flashpoints which have more of a story focus. No, you don't have to wait till the expansion. We have, when you play Rise of the Rackhoules, that is very much story focused. We're going to be alternating between flashpoints that are very story heavy and ones that are a little bit more story light. So yeah, you don't have to wait that long.
There are clearly some characters that have a complex rotation in battle, and there are some characters that are much more easy sort of to play from a DPS standpoint. Is that a design decision, like an actual design decision, or is that just how it came out?
So yes, they are designed. So the goal with different specs, right, is to give different players who have different desires in their playstyle different ways to express both their Star Wars fantasy and the way they like to do damage. So some people out there are going to really, the arsenal tree is going to really appeal to them. They just love hitting people with tracer missile, and that's what they want to do. Other people are going to really appreciate the kind of gameplay that a Watchman brings to their combat rotation. So I guess the answer is yes, we do design a different DPS experience for every class, a different tank experience, and that's to try to make the game feel more alive and to make your choices matter more, because choice is very important to us.
It's also important to us that we have rotations that are complex for the players that really crave that level of complexity, and we also have some classes and rotations that are a little simpler and a little easier for people to get a handle on. That's just part of creating that sort of variety of experience and that understanding that people have different expectations of how complicated they want those rotations to be when they play the game.
Those of you in the aisle, can you guys just move in a little bit? Make sure you're on the black carpet. I don't want anyone blocking the aisle. Thank you. Does anyone who before I go back to some people who have more questions, does anyone not get to ask a question yet that wants to? Yeah, I see some people back here.
So, as a guild leader, it's really hard to recruit. The realm forums, where it's like 8 app, your guild recruitment things get jumbled, other people on other servers are looking at the wrong stuff. Are there plans to make realm forums, or is that something that you guys are happy with how it works now?
So we made the decision to go with what we call server forums after a lot of research into other MMOs who do or had done server-specific forums. It was a combination of two factors. One was basically forums often being very empty or pretty much having no activity, and the second was forums, in particular PvP forums, becoming pretty much a cesspit of insults and screaming and basically tantrums. And unlike some other MMOs, we have a fully active forum moderation team who are on call basically 24/7, and when faced with 200 plus individual forums that they'd have to moderate, it was basically going to be a little bit too much for us to do. So we felt that those two combinations of factors meant that server forums would be something that we would like to try out. So we already kind of modified that to sort of improve that experience, but we're really open to feedback. You can have a chat with me afterwards if you like, and we can talk about it in more detail to try and improve the experience. But to be honest, generally speaking, we think it's been relatively successful for us, and it's kind of achieved the aims that we had, which was to keep the amount of moderation we needed to do down, and also to keep those forums generally kind of busy.
One of the things that's also really nice about the server group forums that I discovered after we launched them was that, so when you create a thread, you have to create a prefix which shows your server. The advanced search on the forums, you can choose that prefix and it'll just show you a list of those threads on the server. So we're trying to get that word out for that, so that way if you are looking for a guild or you're looking to recruit, you can just do that search and see every thread that's just relevant to your server. It's an easy way of having a server-specific page to look at. Someone over here had a question, right? There you are.
Thank you. I love your game. It's really great. You can really tell all the love that's been put into it from the community. I'm wondering, are you going to make any smaller type races, like maybe Ewoks for the Republic or Jawas for the Empire, available maybe through the Legacy system or something?
Playing a Jawa would rock.
Any player races that we ever add will need to speak human. And so right there, Ewoks and Jawas are probably right out.
So maybe in the far future, we might get a little bit crazier. Like, I think I talked about that on Friday. It would be really cool to be able to play a droid. But you won't be seeing that anytime soon. But it's something that we've talked about. So maybe allowing a player to play a Jawa in 2015. You heard it here first.
Woo!
I'm just kidding.
Anyone else new before I go back to the repeated peoples?
In Warzones right now, when the Sentinels and Marauders and tanks, the Force Stun / Force Choke doesn't activate with the Resolve bar. So basically you could have your full Resolve and then they'll force stun, force choke you, and you still go up in the air and have that happening to you. Like, is that supposed to happen, or is it just like class specific? Like,
so awesome. That's the second time I've kind of heard that question over this weekend, and it's definitely something I'm going to have to look into when we get back, to Austin. But I mean, I can tell you the design intent is obviously. I don't know if you read the Q&A that we did yesterday, but stuns and sleep effects and knockback effects are not supposed to impair your character's movement when you have a full resolve bar. If that's happening, it is a bug. And if this is actually happening, we can investigate it certainly, and if it is happening, we can stop it from happening. However, I just want to point out that immobilized effects and slow effects definitely still affect you when you have a resolve bar. So you may find yourself unable to move to the full resolve bar because you have a root effect on you.
I think it was last week's public test notes, or it might have been the week before, but you guys said that you were changing the loop distribution system in the hard flashpoints. Could somebody talk about that? And does that also apply for ops?
I don't think that there's anybody on this stage who can talk about that with great authority, up beyond the fact of we went through a revamp of our itemization, and in order to make the rewards more robust. I think that we've made less loot, destined loot. We removed destined loot. This is the idea that we would drop loot that was designed only for you, and that even if there was someone else that could use it, you would be the only one that could take it. We still like that idea, and we might want to come back to it in the future, but clearly the implementation that we did right now is causing more problems than it was solving. So that's the biggest change that you're going to see, that and the change, the tokenization of the various dungeons.
For combat design on the Guardians or Juggernauts, they have one 12-second cooldown that's an AoE and one cone that costs a lot and it doesn't do damage. And when you have like 4 troopers, 5 troopers, 6 troopers in your raids that can drop 10 AoEs in like 5 seconds, you lose aggro on a trash pack instantly. It's not even competition. Is that meant, are Juggernauts and Guardians meant to be single target, or is there going to be anything to help with AoE threat?
So we definitely don't mean a tank to be the single target tank or the AoE tank like that. That's not part of the design. We want tanks to be successful in all these situations. We're constantly exploring and evaluating how tank threats stack up against each other. And from our internal testings right now, like I said, we're happy with where we're at as far as threat generation goes. You're getting more threat generation on your top tier talent at the end of the tree. Also, there's a little bit of love going into the for the sweeping slashes and smashes and stuff like that. It may require a different approach. Like you may, if you see a group spread up, maybe you got to force charge a guy, push him into the other group before you put your smash down. But ultimately, what I want you to know is we're constantly reevaluating the tank balance for threat, for survivability. It's a never-ending process. So as we start learning more, again, when we start seeing your guys' combat logs, we start seeing logs for guilds and start doing things, we're constantly going to be re-asking ourselves these questions. And if we start to find that the Juggernaut and the Guardian are falling behind in the AoE threat race, we'll definitely address that. I mean, it's not a design decision to make them bad at one type of tank. We would like them to be good as tanks.
Are there plans for additional hot ball arenas?
Yeah, we have been discussing basically doing some reskins of the hot ball, like putting it on a different planet, keeping the game mechanics very similar, just like another sport, right? Like you have a different stadium somewhere else. That's something we've discussed, but there's no timeline for that right now.
So I heard a rumor that Lucasfilm didn't want same-sex relationships between your companions, and as a female IA, I really want to bang Calio, really bad, and I'm disappointed that it wasn't in there. So is there plans to implement that? Can I retroactively romance Calio when it's put in, or is it even going to be put in?
First of all, LucasArts does not have that position at all. They very much care about the community. And in terms of when we're going to be adding same-sex romances, we do have it. Actually, we have some of it already written. I can't say when it's coming in, but it is something that BioWare is known for, and it's something we're putting in. And we have the full support of LucasArts to do it. So you will be seeing it soon. Well, I don't want to say soon, but it won't be. We're not going to be retroactively changing characters, so it's going to be new characters.
Anyone who hasn't asked a question yet? You, sir.
Hi. So, with the flashpoints, the way they are and the loot and operations, I found that very, very quickly your characters don't need flashpoints anymore, like doing operations. So, nightmare flashpoints?
I don't think we have plans for nightmare flashpoints right now. One of the things I think that we made a mistake on the itemization at ship was pretty much making it so that especially the normal mode flashpoint rewards just weren't good enough over the greens and blues that you were finishing the game with. And so a lot of people were just skipping straight over to that. And I think there's still some calibration, some learning that we're going to do. Like I said before, I think 1.2 in general is a lot better on the itemization. We learned a lot from the launch of the game, and we're going to continue to tweak that philosophy.
This is actually a request from my guildmate that the flashpoints seem to be kind of iffy from the Star Wars universe. Not the flashpoints, the ops kind of seem weird from the Star Wars universe. And he was wondering if maybe in the future we're going to get like an ops where we assemble our raid, our ops group as a strike team going on like, say if we're Republic going on to a capital warship on the opposite side and taking down one of their generals or something. Is that something that could be in the future?
Well, we've definitely talked about that. We definitely want to push the Star Wars experience as much as possible. One of the things about all of the in-game content in particular is that we're struck by this balance where we want to be sure that we can push the war as much as we can, but at the same time, it's really important that the challenges that we present to the two sides and the itemization we present to the two sides is roughly equal. So especially for right now in the immediate future, we're focusing on third parties that both sides can hit on, but do we want to get to a place where you're doing a little of that direct conflict? Yeah. Do I have an ETA for you? No. But I will say we have big plans. So.
I think we got time for one more question. Has anyone not asked a question that really wants a chance to? Yes. Better make it a good one. No pressure.
So, there was one spot in, I think, Mandalorian Raiders, which is a flashpoint.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Sorry, there was one point in a flashpoint, I think it was Mandalorian Raiders on the Republic side, where you actually get NPC versions of the Imperial troops that come in and it's like another party that you're fighting against. Is there anything like we would have a PvP version where you would have like a quest on top of fighting other people? Like, is there anything like that you guys are thinking about at all?
That is a great question for Gabe, who is not here right now.
We're going to be doing a lot of experimentation with flashpoints and operations in the future. It's something, we want to do, eventually we want to have that operation, that replicates the end of Return of the Jedi, where you have like a space mission mixed with like the Death Star mission mixed with fighting Ewoks, except we won't have Ewoks. But that's, we want to have that kind of multi-stage operation. That's the final grade. And we want to have to do a whole bunch of different things in between that. So yeah, you're going to seeing PvP in an operation or flashpoint, that would be a great experiment. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but we're considering all sorts of different and original ways of presenting flashpoints and operations.
Cool. So with that, how about we give a big hand for the developers? Thank you guys very much.